Hey everyone, I am going to do a book review today by Mr. Michael Arceneaux. Please excuse me if I am mispronouncing the last name. The name of the book is I Can't Date Jesus. I bought this book on a whim. I saw the title and I thought it was amazingly catchy and clever, and without even knowing anything about it, I just went to Amazon and I bought it, and I'm glad that I did. It is a very quick read. It's 238 pages. It's a very fluid read. It gives just the right amount of detail for an autobiographical piece, which I appreciate because I feel like with a lot of things written about yourself, it can be self-masturbatory at a certain point, but this is not that book. Like, I appreciate it. I have the attention span of a gnat, so I appreciate when things pretty much are nice and descriptive, but they get right to the point. And so what is it about this book? So this is a gentleman who is Houston born and bred. At the time, I'm not sure if he is still living in Harlem, but during these stories that he decided to publish, he was living in Harlem. And he has written pieces for the New York Times and Essence, as well as The Roots, I believe. So he has a pretty extensive writing background. So he actually talks about his life being what it's like being a black guy in Houston, and what it is being, there's many different types of stories, but the ones I think resonated and I think is the overline, not tone of the book, but what he chooses to talk about a lot is being gay and Catholic and being raised in the South. And so I thought that there were just, I thought it was very interesting because, you know, being gay and Catholic, you are going to have these struggles. I mean, I'm speaking from what he spoke about as well as what others have described, because you have your faith telling you that what you're doing. I don't want to say choosing as if it's a choice. What you're doing is, or what you desire, what you want for your life is not what is not in alignment with what God wants. So you've been bombarded with that your entire life. So that causes some friction and struggles, you know, within your family and within just your everyday being. So he talks about that extensively, which I appreciate, because this is, I mean, I had another video about Christians being, I feel like, in my opinion, like overly obsessed with the LGBTQ community. There's a lot of problems that we need to work on as Christians, and I feel like we just need to let God live with just everyone and address what's going on in our how we can be better Christians, I guess. Anyways, that's a side note. But yes, so he talks about that as well. Let me see. I have a couple of favorite parts because I don't want to dissect this book. I want people to actually read it. So I'm looking at my notes. First of all, I wrote here Baytheism, as in Beythiesm, as in you deny the greatness that is Beyonce. And I thought that was hilarious because he is such a Beyonce stan, and he actually does call himself a stan, that he actually created his own vernacular, and I think that's funny. And to be quite honest, I actually was a Baytheist for a really long time. I thought Beyonce was kind of annoying and would not go away, but as I've gotten older, she's kind of grown on me, and I kind of appreciate what she's doing right now. So I just thought he created his own word. And then the second part is he tells this story where he's out at like dinner or something with his friend, and a random guy just starts talking to them, and he's not going away. And I've had plenty of instances in my life where just like these bizarre random interactions with strangers are happening, and it's just like, am I being pranked? Like, what exactly is happening right now? What did I do to deserve just this just random nonsensical scenario? And so that's what happens. But it especially is endearing to me because he actually created a nickname for this particular annoying individual, which is Mr. Fila Pants, Mr. Fila Tracksuit, excuse me. And I feel like that's very relatable because plenty of times in my life where if there's someone that I don't particularly care for, that I have to see all the time, or if it's just, again, like a random guy or gal in my life, I will create a nickname for them based on what is going on, whether it's their attire, whether it's their hair. Yes, so I thought that he just decided, didn't even ask him his name, he just called him Mr. Fila Tracksuit, and I thought that was actually really funny. And then the second point that I had was he has a whole chapter devoted to finding the right barber. Now, I am a Black woman, and this is relatable to me because we have the same struggles. I mean, if you get your hair cut by a barber, that's fine, but you also have the same struggles with finding the perfect hairstylist. And he gives some examples of like kind of challenges you deal with when finding a right stylist. For instance, you may find a really good stylist or a barber, but they're super flaky. They are doing just a bunch of, while they're cutting your hair, while they're doing the hair, they're just doing a bunch of annoying things, unprofessional things during your time. Like they basically do not respect your time. If they're on the phone, if they're on their Bluetooth, talking to family or friends or whatever during the time that they have allotted to you, they just don't show up for appointments, or they are putting you off, and it's just prolonging this very sacred time that you have, because everybody's time is important. And so so you have that challenge of getting someone who really does get you and what you want, but they're just super flaky. Or you just have someone that's just terrible, and because if it's an issue of like convenience, like you just have me walking down the street and they're there, or I can't really think of another reason as to why you would get your hair cut or done if it was for but you just don't you don't really have like a history with this person, and they just are there, and you just are just like leaving it up to God to see how what's gonna turn out, and it's usually like you gamble and you lose. And so he has a story in there where he talks about getting his hair cut from like I think it was a Korean guy. This guy did not, it was one of those things, he walked in and there was like a chart of pictures of what of the styles, the choices that you get done. I think he pointed to one, and the guy, I think, he didn't have a really good grasp of English. So again, I think there's a culture issue, there's a barrier issue, and again, he ended up losing, and his haircut was completely and absolutely terrible. So I think that can be relatable to a lot of people, just trying to, find that person who you don't have to really, they just get you, and they know exactly what you want and can respect your time. For some reason, those two cannot coincide. I mean, in my own life, I have had some really great stylists, but they've been super flaky. I've had that happen where they just don't show up for the appointment, and you're just kind of like, okay. So now you have to start this whole process again about finding another person. When I left Ohio, I had a really great stylist, and that's what was so heartbreaking, because I'm still trying to find someone. Someone just cut my hair, and I actually really like what she did, but it took me 3 years to get to this point. And so my stylist is back in Ohio, and I miss her because she was great. Anyways, I'm doing a sidebar. But also another point that he talks about, and I think it's very interesting, is that he was talking about the rampant homophobia that happens within the barbershop. And of course, he's walking in. He doesn't know who else might be sitting there who might be gay. Like it's just him. He knows, so he has to sit there and he has to listen to all these like awful things that the barber's saying. He has to listen to like all the awful things that the other patrons is not the right word, but the people who are like the other people who are waiting to get their hair cut. He has to listen to them speak about, you know, gay people in this awful way. So he just said that like one day he just left and he was upset with himself because he just felt like he couldn't say anything, and then he started crying because he just could not just believe how awful it was. And you know, I just, that's, you know, that's, I feel bad, and I know that is a very real thing. And I felt just really awful that he had to go through that, because, you know, I don't know why that part resonated with me. I just feel like as a human being, like we just need to be very sensitive to everyone. And again, I think that this also talks about just addressing, and how do you address in that particular context, like how do you check someone when they say something homophobic? Because I mean, it's I think it would be tricky to like, because you know, he is a gay man, so he's within his right to like, you know, check someone if they say something about him, but he doesn't want to put himself in a precarious situation as well, because you just never know how people are just going to respond. And so, you know, I just feel really bad for him, because that's just a very complex situation. So, yeah. And then I think I think he does end up finding a barber who actually is totally okay with him and is able to cut his hair in the way that he wants. And that's what we all want. We just want people to accept and love us. So yeah, like I did not mean for this book review to be really long, but I think that if you're looking for not a different type of story, but if you're looking for an autobiographical book that is not, it's funny, it's short. Again, because he's a writer, his writing is very easy for me. And maybe because I understand sarcasm, that is my second language, I understand and love how he writes. It's very easy for me to get what I can easily picture some of these people he is referring to. So yes, I would highly recommend it. And again, it's by Michael Arceneaux. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, but yeah, it's a really good read, and I recommend it. Okay, I am done.